The family of those people who are deployed, many times they are left with not enough support to take care of themselves. You know, we understand that the families get what is called quarters allowance, which is supposed to take care of the family. And if they're in military housing, of course, the utilities and all that stuff is paid. But if there are children involved, regardless of the number, the income that the military man makes is not going to sufficiently take care of him and his family back home. And I'm not sure enough is being done for those families who are left behind. Now, they've done a pretty good thing as far as the survival benefit package, but we don't need to let our soldiers die for their families to be beneficiaries of what they should be entitled to in the first place. They get a big chunk of money if their husband die in combat, but that's just a one-time check. What happens down the road? We need to fix something that's going to take care of those families for the duration, at least until the children are adults. Now, I don't know of any program that handles that. That's why I'm mentioning it. Once they become civilians again, and they still have the use of their faculties, we need to devise a way to have them matriculate back into the civilian world comfortably. Now, I understand there are educational programs that they pay into that will help them to do that, but I'm not sure that's enough. I'm not sure that if they have a family, for instance, they can come out, take that GI Bill, whatever it's called now, and still support that family and go to school. I think we need to have a better program to handle that situation. Now let's go to some civilian matters. The effect of the economy on the housing market. We don't profess to be economists or professionals in that area, but because we are homeowners, we understand that the housing market is in disarray, and that means that our homes are being devalued. I don't have that much concern about it personally, because I'm of the age where before my house is paid off, I'll be gone anyway. Okay? But if someone is looking at a house for an investment and the housing continues to fall like it is, we're going to be in serious trouble. I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to try to go any further into that. But I am concerned about the cost and the availability of housing insurance. It seems to continue to go up. Insurance companies are leaving Florida because they say they're losing money and not making any profits. I don't see how that's possible, but if they say so,
they're not making enough profits is what they're saying.
Yeah. But we need to address that. And I think the state is doing something to address that. But I think they need to do a little more and make the people feel a little more comfortable about that huge amount of money they're paying for home insurance. Sure, when the house gets destroyed by a tornado, a hurricane, which happens in Florida repeatedly, we want to have replacement value, but how much do we need to pay on an annual basis to assure that replacement value? That's the big concern.
And there's a big issue too. You know, this is the problem with the insurance companies. Again, this goes back to the whole transparency and accountability thing. You know, I think what we're seeing with the insurance companies, as I understand, you know, it is essentially a business, and then you know, we can't expect them to operate it like a charity. But at the same time, the insurance companies need to be held accountable. When they give you a policy and your home takes damage, it's far too easy for them now to find a way to weasel out of paying your claim. I think we need to take a closer look at the profit margins that are actually being made there. You know, and this is all part of a larger problem that we have, which is our current congressman. The largest group of campaign donors that he has the largest single group is the real estate and insurance industry, and that's not at all atypical for the state in particular, but it speaks to how policy is made in this country, and we have to we've got to find a way to get around that system, because what we have right now in place is we have a system of legalized bribes. You know, we have a system where...
Since you're talking about that, I'll take it off my list.
we have a system where it doesn't matter how good your intentions are, to get the kind of money that you need to run a successful campaign. I mean, the average right now for a congressional campaign is about $1.5 million, $2 million every 2 years. You know, that puts you, you know, in the neighborhood of $10,000–$20,000 a day that you end up having to raise. And we have to do something about that. And I think right now, this election in particular, we have an opportunity. You know, the new media is I don't think anybody has quite figured out how to manipulate it well enough to the advantage of the old system yet. But we have a real opportunity to do something different and to make a change. And I will be honest with all of you, I don't know where any of you stand on the presidential election, but I think given the candidates that we have now that are front runners, and given the likelihood of the two top front runners that we have on each party, I think we need to start considering other alternatives and depending on a strong president to solve everything. We have to get back to the fundamentals that this country was based on, of having that system of checks and balance, of having that tripod between the judiciary, the legislature, and the president. We don't need a presidential dictator. You know, and if we focus all our efforts on this presidential race, I think we're going to lose sight of the bigger picture, and that's an important part of what we're doing here. Is I'm in this to win, and I think actually this year I have a really good shot at winning, because it looks like we have a four-way race right now. So that means the person who wins this election is likely not going to have a supermajority or a full majority of votes. So that we have, again, this is sort of an election year that's in flux, where we have a real opportunity to go out and do something different. But the bottom line in all these issues, and this is why I wanted to come out and talk to groups like yours, is I think people have really lost faith, not so much in the government, but in the idea that people at our level can make a difference and can make a change and can really do something. And so, you know, when I see groups like yours, you know, working with veterans, working in the community, this is exactly the sort of spirit that we need to highlight, and people need to see this, and people need to see what's really going on. I mean, you know, I look at campaign websites, you know, and on the banner it's a shot of Gordon Drive and Naples Beach, and I mean, sure, that's one small segment of the population of this area, but we need to really show the working people and the majority of people that live in this area, because there's really, it's two different worlds entirely.
Agreed. Moving on. Social Security. A benefit that a lot of us are taking advantage of, and we keep hearing that the funds are going to run out. I don't see how that's possible. But there are all kinds of ways to get money to put in that system. If you want to go back to the military, for instance, you hear on a continual basis about these projects to build battleships and planes that the service says that they don't need or don't want. And you also hear reports of inventories and stocks and supplies and equipment that are already obsolete. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago I heard a report that the Air Force had several $1 billion worth of equipment on order, which they have already declared obsolete. So why is that money being wasted? The GAO needs to do a better job, and somebody needs to hold their feet to the ground to protect our money, because that is our money. That's what they're spending. Move that into security, into Social Security. You know, kind of boost that program, because a lot of people are afraid that 20 years down the line there's not going to be any money there. You know, and they're paying in their money every week or every paycheck. You know, they have concern there. And I do too, because, you know, I get a little Social Security, and I think I deserve it. You know, I paid in it, When I first went into the military, we didn't have Social Security. We didn't pay Social Security. But as the reason I understand that the military got into Social Security business is because we elected a former general as a president, and he says, "There's no reason those boys can't pay Social Security." So Ike says, "Let's make them pay Social Security," and I'm glad they did because I'm using it. You know, that buys my groceries. Anyway, now a subject that I know that we can't do anything about it because you touched on it: lobbyists, out of control, but they've got the deep pockets. That's what keeps these people in office. So it's a concern, but what can we do about it? I don't think anything. And the next thing that really bugs me, and I keep hearing about it on the news constantly, is this stuff that they call earmarks, where they attach their special projects for their particular areas onto bills that needs to be passed. And the general public don't get a chance to have anything to say about it. And they're wasting money. I mean, I've heard some ridiculous charges, but what are you going to do about that? Again,
this is exactly what I'm talking about here. This is the system the way it's running right now. I would tend to agree with you. There's not much that we can do. What we need to do, the first thing that we need to do is we need to, there is something we can do. We got to change the system. And I'm not talking about anything radical. I'm not talking about changing the Constitution. The system that I'm talking about is basically the election system. This is what's got to change. You know, if I didn't have a lot of faith in this country and the principles and the system that was founded on, I wouldn't be running for office. But we have an election system that is broken, and it is destroying the democracy in this country, and we have to change it. And the only way that we can change it is that protests are great for getting people's attentions, but they only go so far.
That's called civil unrest.
Yes.
They don't like that.
Doing things on a local and a community level is essential. That's always got to happen no matter what. But again, if things are breaking down on the federal level, eventually that's going to trickle down, using our old friend President Reagan's term there, that's going to trickle down, and not the good way that he meant, on everybody, which I think is what's happening now. What we've got to do is we've got to get our own set of eyes, and we've got to get our own set of hands back into the system. And that's the only way we're going to change these things. Now, you were talking about Social Security. This is a classic example. I think one of the biggest problems right now that we have is we've got, for the last 30 years or so, we've basically been operating under this, it's almost like a false god. There's this free market gospel, which basically says, the people on top have been saying, okay, you give all your bread to us, and we'll let you have whatever crumbs trickle down. And what we're seeing right now is you talk about the housing market. This is a symptom of a larger problem. This isn't just the cause of all our economic problems. This is a symptom that we've veered too far away from regulating businesses that need to be regulating, the insurance industry, the real estate industry, and particularly in this case the banking and financial industry. I mean, I guarantee you, I can go around this neighborhood and around the neighborhood around my office, and I can talk to half a dozen people without even trying who've had problems with predatory lenders. We all know how these predators have been operating. And 2 years ago, if you talked to the president about these guys, he said they were being creative in the ways that they were getting money. Now everybody recognizes it's a problem. But again, this is systemic of the election system that we have. The problem is that these guys have been, these companies have been writing their own legislation and passing it through the lobbyists, or passing it through whatever particular congressman they've got control of, and that's how we get to this situation. We've got to get back to the idea of a social safety net. This is the other issue. We've got to recognize that an unregulated market is going to have extreme highs and extreme lows, and you're also going to have an extreme of people at the top. You're going to get a smaller and smaller number of people on the top and a larger and larger number of people on the bottom. And, you know, the idea of a social safety net is, as veterans, I'm sure this is something that you can all appreciate, is, you know, when you hit rock bottom in this country, that's it. There's nowhere to go. I mean, if you don't have friends, if you don't have family, if you don't have like a church community or a religious community to help you out, that's it. You've got nowhere to go. And we're seeing more and more people get into this situation. And we need, talking about Social Security, the Social Security problem, where they say we're going to run out of money, that is tied also with the Medicare-Medicaid issue. We have to address health care. There are some very simple fixes to Social Security. For example, we can raise the ceiling right now. Once you hit around, I think it's around 89,000 per individual income per year, you don't pay anything more into the entitlement programs. We can raise that ceiling. There's a lot of very simple things we can do to ensure that Social Security stays around. The other thing, of course, is to get deficit spenders like the current administration to stop dipping their hands into the till of Social Security. But that'll come to naught if we don't get healthcare costs in this country under control. And my friend Pete over there, he's a libertarian, as are a lot of people in this district, so I got to ask him to cover his ears when I say this. But I am an advocate of universal health care. We need a single-payer plan in this country. You know, I work part-time. I work as a doctor's office at a state clinic, and it's a very simple procedure. We deal with people who have sleep apnea. I work on one procedure. That's all I do. And you know, we don't have one bureaucracy that we have to deal with. We have 20 or 30 bureaucracies that we have to deal with. And you talk to anybody in the medical industry, they'll tell you that around 40% of all medical costs are administrative costs. Then we have, on top of that, every insurance company is trying to make sure that they have a profitable business. Every HMO is trying to maintain profitability, and all of that goes on top of the medical expenses. I think we need universal health care. And if we can get the medical costs under control and we can have a single payer program, that'll take care of a lot of the excess stresses around Medicare and Medicaid, basically getting rid of those programs. And in turn, with that, we'll have a new source of revenue for the medical expenses, and the Social Security will be able to get under control. Otherwise, the rate we're going now, entitlements will swallow us up. With the federal budget where it is now, I believe the estimate is in 2045. If we don't make any changes, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid will be 100% of the federal budget if we don't make any changes now, given the current rates of growth.
I've heard a lot about the universal Medicare health programs, and I've lived in a lot of the countries that have those was hospitalized and so I'm familiar with the program, but I've heard a lot of negative reports also, for instance, coming out of Canada about how that program is managed. So I will have to get a lot more information before I'm sold on universal health care. If you are fortunate and you're a veteran, the system works reasonably well. As an individual, I have no problem with the medical service that I'm receiving from the government. But then I don't have any chronic illnesses either. I don't have anything that's going to put my life at risk where I need to be concerned about. The only thing I would really be concerned about at this time is that something happens of an emergency nature and there is no military hospital in the general facility, then I've got to depend on the medical coverage, the HMO bit, which I also have. So, as an individual, I don't have a problem with that, but the system is not working.
And this is, you know, one of the things, I mean, universal health care takes care of a lot of these veterans issues, because then, in terms of, one issue that it takes care of is general availability of care. Because if we had universal health care, it wouldn't be an issue regardless of if you're a veteran or not. If you have an illness, you can go to the hospital and you can get taken care of. On top of that, of course, you know, we have to recognize that veterans, that they have needs above and beyond that. Even if we did have universal health care, there's still issues that we need to take care of. Let me ask you something. This is directed to all of you. How much experience do you have with young guys coming back from Afghanistan now in this area?
We don't have a lot of contact there. We had direct contact with one young man who came back, lost his arm, and we did a special recognition for him. But there are, as far as I know, there are no members of our congregation who have someone that's in Iraq presently. I may be wrong, but we've asked the congregation to identify them to us before, and they haven't done so. So we're assuming that we don't have any. But that does not eliminate our concern, because I know there are some within the community, because we pick up the paper and we see the names of those who are still serving. So we have to be concerned about that. Let's hit a couple more things, and then I'll let these gentlemen touch on the things that I haven't, because it looks like they're getting sleepy. We talked about homelessness in the general veteran community, but what about homelessness in general? It seems to be rampant all over the United States, and I think that needs to be addressed. And another concern I have, which is really not powerful, but I see the adoption program. And what's really being broadcast is the fact that our American families are going overseas to do the adoptions. We have thousands of children, American children, who are in the system who are eligible for adoption. Why are we not taking care of them? That same thing can be said about the feeding programs, where we send all this food to other countries, and we have children in our own country that starve from day to day. That has to be handled by the local politicians. I don't think it's a federal issue, but I think that needs to address also. And my last concern, then, that you guys can have it, I have here the elimination, and I'm going to change the wording, of a supreme being from all aspects of government and public endorsements. Years ago, when we could pray in school and read the Bible in school, and the courts could put up signs that talked about the Ten Commandments. Sure, we had crime, we had violence, we had some horrific gangsters loose, but we didn't have children shooting each other in school. We didn't see the amount of adolescents who are in crime, and I think that comes from trickling down from the government that eliminates the use or the recognition, if I may, of a supreme being. And being a Christian, I really feel that knowing about a supreme being aids your character. I mean, because you know that there's something more powerful than you. But the average teenager you meet on the street today, I would be afraid to be on the street by myself with them, because you don't know what is coming on. And I think that's one of the reasons for that decline in character, is because we've forgotten about that supreme being. So the government has to do something from up there to start. The churches are trying to address that, but then too you find that in a lot of the churches they are more concerned about the getting all you can from society, as opposed to advancing, that idea of the supreme being.
This is I'm glad you brought this subject up, because this is something we need to have a more honest dialogue about in our political discourse of what we're having. There's we don't talk about religion, I think, in its proper context when we're talking about government. In terms of, in terms of the role, particularly when we're looking at the federal government, in terms of the role that the federal government needs to have in promoting religion, I think we need to be careful how we proceed there, but not as carefully as some of our more politically correct friends might want us to go. I agree with you 100%. I mean, the idea of God, the idea of a supreme being, however delicately you want to put that, is something that I think is important to every individual. And I respect those individuals who consider themselves agnostics or atheists or who come from other faiths. I have no problem with that, because I think even within those communities or within those individuals, most of them that you talk to who've really thought about the issue, you'll find that you can come to a lot of common ground. But I think what we see is, I was just reading an article a couple of days ago about churches that have ATM machines in the churches.
I heard that, yeah.
And we have these mega churches that have fast food outlets, and I understand there's even shops in some of these mega churches now. And I think we've seen, again, I go back to it, I think it's almost become a religion, this sort of free market gospel. That, like you said, it's about what everybody can get out of society. And we need to get back to the idea that, first of all, there is such a thing as a society. A society isn't just a collection of individuals out there doing their own thing. Society is a collection of individuals who also contribute to the society as a whole. I think there's that sense of duty and that sense of commitment and that sense of sacrifice. All of these things that religion, the best of religion, is always emphasized, and these are things that we've gotten away from. Now, as someone who is in a minority religion in this country, I am certainly appreciative to the fact I have no problem. First of all, as a Muslim, I believe in God. It's the same God as Christianity and as Judaism, so there's no question about my personal level of comfort with talking about God. I think, I have no problem if someone is at a public school and they say, I'd like to thank God at a football game. I think the recent judgment that the Supreme Court made about the Ten Commandments was basically dead on. They said if it's a historical purpose, you can go ahead and put religious material like the Ten Commandments up, but if it is specifically for proselytizing for a specific religion, that should be prohibited. I think when we're talking about schools and federal workplaces, I don't think having a mandatory prayer or any sort of religious ritual that everyone has to follow is appropriate. However, a moment of silence is fine. And I have no problem with the idea of government workers and school children taking a Christmas break or putting up a nativity scene in front of a school or government building. I have no problem with that sort of thing. But I think, for me personally, where I think the line needs to be drawn is that if it is a ritual that demands participation in the public sector, it should be. That's what the government shouldn't be doing. However, if it's a passive promotion, like talking about God or that sort of thing, then I think that's okay. And this is something that we need to find the right balance on, because I firmly believe that we've gotten away from the fundamental principles of religion and the society as a whole, and that is to the detriment of the society. And we have to find a way that we can talk about this issue and still be respectful of different people's beliefs, but at the same time be respectful of those people that do have faith and that do believe in something. You see it all the time. We have religious bigots We have people who think that they have it's necessary for them to force their religious beliefs on other people. We see those examples. I think, unfortunately, we also have on the secular side, we have the same thing. We have people who are vehemently anti-religious, and they feel that they have to enforce that dogma on other people. And right now it's a struggle. I couldn't tell you, I think in different parts of the country you would see maybe one side or the other that's in control of a particular part of the country, but we need to get away from that sort of inflexible dogma, be it religious or secular, and talk about how we can all work together in a society, in this society.
Careful on that. Sir, this country, supposedly the most powerful nation on earth, perhaps at one time. What made this country as strong as it was? We go back to where we came from. This country was founded on what? Religion. Now, we have opened our doors to everyone. Then we can no longer be free to practice our religion, so to speak. I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with you practicing your religion. I don't feel that I should force my religion on you, because religion is not enforced. God enforces his power on anyone. Let him who will. Religion should be the same way. Don't tell me I can't pray in school if that's what I choose to do. You don't have to. And when it's your time to do what you want to do, I don't need to say, no, you can't. It should be as simple as that.
I agree with you there. Let me ask you something. Do you think that you should have, for example, in a public school, that a principal or a school teacher should lead the class in prayer? In a public school.
Lead them in prayer. I think that would depend on this class and the school. If you know that you have a class of, say, Christians, and that's what they choose to do, I don't have a problem with that teacher doing that. But I do have a problem, say, like, if I had a Jewish person in that class and they didn't want to participate, you want to step outside for a moment. There should be, like I said, religion should not be forced. I do not have a problem with the teacher leading a class in prayer, because, hey, I'm going to tell you, before my class takes tests, and sometimes when they come in, I have to say a prayer so I don't hurt one of them. I'm be honest with you, I need a little strength there, because kids today, they have no respect. And I'm old-fashioned enough to be that a child going to stay in this place, so I'm going to put him in this place. So, if you figure it out, I'm a teacher, yeah.
What grade do you teach?
Middle school.
Middle school.
The ones who know everything and don't realize they don't know anything. Yeah. That's the group I have. And then I'm at an alternative school. So, they can't deal with the other schools, and they nothing else to do, they send them to me. Okay, next thing, moving on. I have a problem with the way we open our doors to everyone. But yet we don't open our doors to everyone. If a Cuban hit the shore, then he's allowed to stay. If a Haitian hit the shore, I don't care if he made it to New York, they're going to ship him back. Is there a problem with black and white?
This is another issue.
I have an issue with that. I have an issue with people, like we've been talking about, homeless people not getting what they need, who have fought for this country, lost just about everything for this country or whatever else. They are Americans and always been Americans in this country, but can't get help. But we'll bring someone in from somewhere else who came in on the boat and give them everything they need, set them up in a business almost. I have a problem with that. And I am concerned, I am very concerned of how electable you're going to be as a Muslim. I'm very concerned about that.
Well, that's a real concern, and I understand. And I want to go back. First of all, this gets to another important issue. We talk about political correctness, and we talk about things that we don't talk about. there is a way of talking around the black and white issue in this country that drives me crazy. You know, somehow we've decided that if we don't talk about racism, that racism doesn't exist. And this is a real problem. And, you know, when you go out and you try and have a frank discussion, you know, and in this country, I mean, and it's been this way for a long time, unfortunately. You know, you look at every immigrant group, major group that's come in this country, at least since the Civil War. You know, my grandparents were Italian. The Italians assimilated. The Irish assimilated. Asians assimilated. The Latins are assimilating now, and yet we still have this black and white divide that never goes away. You know, and of course, this is a legacy of our history. This is a legacy of slavery. This is a legacy of the Civil War, and all of these things.
And remember now, we're the only group of people that's here by force. We didn't choose to come here. Everybody else did. And so we're still paying for it.
And what we've got to be honest about where the situation is right now. You know, people don't want to talk about the income disparities that still exist between black and white that have been virtually unchanged since the 19th century. People don't want to talk about the everyday prejudices that are out there, that even if you don't talk about it. There's an author named Patrick Keegan, who was an ex-intelligence analyst like myself, wrote a book years ago called The Twilight of Democracy, and he said something that I always think back on. What he said is that, you know, when you're talking about the black and white issue, in this country, we don't have a problem with racism. We have a caste system that's based on race. And what he meant by that is that, you know, like I was saying, every other group seems to have no problem assimilating over time, but yet there's always that black and white issue always remains. And I'm not going to stand here or sit here and pretend that I can tell you what it's like to be a black man in America. Obviously, I have no clue, but I do understand that, you know, it seems to me that it doesn't matter if you're wealthy or if you're poor. You're always a black man in America or a black woman. And this is something that we have to address. And the only way that we can address this is we've got to talk about it honestly. And I think that the solutions that we've got to come to is it's not going to come from one side. You know, the problem, it's not all on the white side. It's not all on the black side. The only way that we can solve this problem is we've got to work together. And again, we've got to be honest about it. Now, the issue with me being a Muslim and electability, the way that I look at this is sort of a two-edged sword. And I'll tell you, my family was Catholic. My father, he abandoned my mother before I was born. My mother's family is Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, but I never took communion. So technically, I never became a Christian. It's not that I have anything against Christianity. In my 30s, I'm 39 now, I would have been content to never claim any particular religion for my own. I had been studying religion, and particularly Islam, for about 10 years. And I found myself, my way of thinking and the way that I understood God was closer and closer to what Islam presented. And after 9/11, I would talk about Islam, and because I had some experience in it, the first question everyone would ask me is, "Are you a Muslim?" And I got tired of saying no and then trying to dance around the issue. Then I met some people here in the community, and I decided that that's where God needed me to be, was within the Muslim